What's up out there, internet land? Jackie B, Captain Jack, Facebook, family, friends, YouTube, Periscope, Twitter. Hadn't cut a lot of videos recently. I've really taken some time to reflect and think about the message I share versus just sharing it. And, I thought about last night, I made a post about Marcus Williams and him blowing the game, basically, kind of making a funny of it. But on the other hand, after I reflected and was reading this morning, it wasn't so funny. I look back over this year in the NFL. It was very charged, very heated. A lot of people upset about, the national anthem, about a myriad of things, as I was. And really, I stayed out of the NFL for most of the year until getting sucked back in to when the Saints kind of got into the game. And it made me reflect a little bit. It made me think about my own life and my own stuff where I'd blown it. I had screwed up. And, I made a post last night, being funny about Trump. Hey, you're fired. When the reality was that game was not lost by that one play. That game was actually lost back in Tampa. And you're like, what do you mean back in Tampa, Jack? I said, well, when we started playing this clock management stuff, and then we almost blew the game for Carolina, and then even the 3rd and 1 call right up the middle, I get it. But I don't want to put all the pressure on a 21-year-old that he blew the game. I was excited as a Saints fan to see us kick that field goal, get a chance to win it. Had we managed the clock appropriate, they wouldn't even had any time. But hats off to Minnesota. What a heck of an ending that is the game of football. But it also kind of points to the game of life. I've blown it a lot. Definitely blown it more than Marcus Williams might have done last night by a lot of people's standards. And the good thing is we just keep getting back up, and God's grace just keeps covering us and giving us more and more so we can move on, get better as a human being. So I wanted to confess, look, sometimes your emotions get the best of you. You get caught up in things. But, this kid had a heck of a season. The Saints had a heck of a season. And as Saints fans, you can really get charged up, in this game where you thought you had it, and then all of a sudden Minnesota takes it away. But at any rate, I see some guys covering, making some comments there. But my real confession was, thank God that when we blow it, we get another chance. And then we get 7,000 chances and 10,000 chances, even when we blow it. And I know I've been part of that. My life hasn't been perfect, and I've sure missed many tackles. And I know each of you have as well. So, there's always a lesson to be learned. There's always a wisdom to be gained. And, Mr. Williams, my heart goes out to you. But you had a heck of a season, 21-year-old guy. He's coming back, man. I mean, the Saints ain't going nowhere. They're just going to have to figure out if they can afford Breeze or not. A lot of people are just assuming that. But if he wants $25 million a year, that's $7 million more than he's making. We'll just have to see. But I really just want to eat some humble pie. I posted that doggone field goal last night. That was my first video in a while of the Saints kicking it and saying it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And then 10 seconds later, we get beat. So the lesson is, I've taken some time thinking about the NFL. And even though I don't agree with the way these guys have, kneeled at the national anthem. There's a lot of stuff going on in this country, folks. There's a lot of separation and division, and although I don't think that's the time and place to be protesting, there was times back when ships were sunk in the harbor, when things were done extremely bad, that looked bad and ended up turning the course of our country. So I don't want you to think that, I'm some softy or something, but at the end of the day, we need to put ourselves, in the other person's shoes, and start to think of it from that perspective. As I was reading this morning, things just kind of became very obvious to me that I needed to, look at the plank in my own eye, that, if I would, versus the speck in the others. And I think that's what we have going on, is you have, the black community, which obviously I'm not black, that are still going through a lot of struggles. And until we can put ourselves in the shoes of others, can we truly start to help people think that we have empathy and care? You know, it's easy to judge. It's easy to just beat our fist on and say, by God, blah, 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 blah. But I read an article a few months ago that really convicted me of my beliefs as it relates to, you know, maybe there's a deeper story there that needs to be spoken about. And even though, you know, the guys kneeling aren't really bringing it up, there's more there than meets the eye. And again, I'm not saying I agree with that method of protesting. However, there is still a lot of pain and, you know, and hurt, you know, within maybe some communities that don't feel like maybe you know, they're getting treated the same. So I want to be empathetic. I want to put myself in their positions. If you are a friend of mine, an African-American, black human being that is going through things, let's have a discussion about it. You know, and Marcus Williams, I just want to say, look, you had a great season. It ain't on you, bro. I think we lost it on the 3rd and 1 call. The 3rd and 1 call, we jammed it right in the middle versus play action, run the clock out, kick the field goal with 2 seconds. But again, I'm not the coach. Sean Payton is, and I really just wanted to publicly apologize for putting that goofy meme, you know, about Marcus Williams, you're fired. Probably bad taste, you know. In the heat of the moment, you get charged up and put stuff out there. And I just want to publicly apologize because I know I've blown it more than once. And we can't hold this one missed assignment or something like that against this kid for a heck of a season, heck of representation for the city of New Orleans. And hats off to Minnesota that just won the game, you know. And I don't think anybody's going to beat the Patriots and that dynasty, but we shall see. And let's look at the bigger things of, you know, that when we do fail, when we do blow it, do we get back up? And do we have friends lifting us back up and encouraging us, or are folks just throwing rocks at us? It's easy to throw rocks. That's kind of why I've taken some time off in the last 3 or 4 months. I've been doing some reflection and some thoughts about just different things going on in my life where, you know, do I have the right folks in my infrastructure? Do I have them, the right people? Are they saying the right things? Are they open to feedback? Is there, and, you know, I kind of came to the understanding that, in fact, you know, maybe some changes had to be made on my end, you know, from just relationships in business and such that I'd gotten involved with. But hats off to the Saints. Who dat? You know, I got sucked back in at the end of the year, you know, when they got good. I swore I wouldn't watch football, but, you know, it's football, and it gets us emotionally charged and all the other stuff with the kneeling and what have you. I've taken a whole different perspective on that, and I want to empathetically look at the eyes of the pain that they're really talking about through that. I don't think it's a disrespect for the flag, other than they don't feel that they're getting their fair share. So hopefully people will start talking versus just kneeling and saying nothing. Hopefully there'll be more, you know, people willing to listen and not just cast judgment on these people, because at the end of the day, all I know is I've blown it a lot, you've blown it a lot, but we keep getting back up because God's grace is immense, and you just keep putting one foot for the other. So that's my Monday motivation moment with Captain Jack. I hope you guys have an awesome week, and I will see you on the next video. Take care.